Sean Diddy Combs fighting back against claims he had sex with other celebrities and minors and that it was recorded on video. I'll tell you who Combs is suing for defamation and how much money he's demanding. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Sean Combs wants to go to court, but this time he is the one bringing the case. For months, Combs has been in the news as he awaits trial on federal charges of racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking. Combs, of course, has pleaded not guilty to those charges. His attorneys claim that he is innocent. And in Combs' defamation lawsuit, they write that he is confident that he will be acquitted at trial. Combs is also facing more than a dozen civil lawsuits filed by women and men. Many of them claim Combs drugged and sexually assaulted them. Combs has vehemently denied all of these claims, his lawyers issuing statements saying, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. Now Combs has filed his own lawsuit, claiming he's been defamed by a man named Courtney Burgess, Burgess's attorney Ariel Mitchell, and cable news network NewsNation, and he wants a minimum of $50 million in damages. And full disclosure here, Ariel Mitchell has appeared as a guest here on Law&Crime a handful of times. Burgess and Mitchell appeared on NewsNation on October 31st, 2024, and said Burgess possessed videotapes that showed Sean Combs having sex with other celebrities, some who were minors. Now, to be clear, these are allegations made by Courtney Burgess, and so far, we haven't found reports of anyone else who has viewed these tapes or can verify their contents. Ariel Mitchell has said she has seen screenshots. Burgess and Mitchell claimed that he testified earlier on October 31st in front of the federal grand jury investigating Sean Combs. Again, Combs has denied these claims. And his lawsuit states, defendant Burgess falsely claimed that he possessed videos of Mr. Combs involved in the sexual assault of celebrities and minors. Burgess repeated this false claim many times to anyone who would listen, including reporters for major news outlets, including NewsNation, which recklessly repeated and amplified his lies as if they were true. The suit continues, offering details about Burgess's claims about the videos. In response to the host's questioning, Burgess falsely stated that all 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, 2 to 3, possibly 3, appeared to be minors, all appeared inebriated, and all, to be honest, were victims of sexual assault. The suit claims Burgess first contacted Mitchell about selling a sex tape that he claimed to have that showed Sean Combs and a male celebrity that he said he received from Sean Combs' late partner and the mother of his 4 children, Kim Porter. Again, Combs is alleging that Burgess's claims regarding the contents of the tapes are false. The lawsuit states, upon information and belief, sometime in or around September 2024, Burgess contacted Mitchell seeking to team up with a lawyer in an attempt to legitimize and or profit from his outrageous lies. Combs' lawyers claim Burgess has never met Sean Combs or members of his family. But the suit states, nevertheless, Burgess has claimed on multiple occasions that Kim Porter, the mother of 4 children with Mr. Combs who died in 2018, provided him with a copy of her memoir and videos depicting Mr. Combs sexually assaulting inebriated celebrities and minors. Those closed to Miss Porter, including her children and her roommate for over 20 years, had never heard of Mr. Burgess before he made this utterly implausible and completely false claim. The suit says Burgess acknowledged in an interview with a YouTube channel that Kim Porter had no more than a passing acquaintance with Burgess. The suit also claims that Burgess was a part of publishing a book on Amazon entitled Kim's Lost Words that her family later denounced as fake, which led Amazon to pull the book. Combs' suit also claims Burgess falsely insinuated his life was in danger from marketing the book. Now, there are other claims of defamation made against Ariel Mitchell, Courtney Burgess's lawyer. Combs' suit claims this case is about defendants' willful scheme to fabricate and broadcast outrageous lies concerning Mr. Combs, and then to leverage those falsehoods to gain social media fame, enrich themselves, and strip Mr. Combs of his reputation, livelihood, and right to a fair trial. The suit continues. Burgess peddled his false and defamatory statements about Mr. Combs to promote himself on social media. Mitchell did the same. Both seek to capitalize on the resulting publicity for financial gain. Sean Combs claims that Mitchell benefited financially from granting interviews to NewsNation and other outlets. The suit states, in exchange for press appearances to discuss the allegations against Mr. Combs, Mitchell has demanded luxury accommodations, including first-class flights to New York City, a minimum 2-night stay at 4-star minimum hotel, on-site hair and makeup services, meals and snacks, and an unspecified materials fee. She has insisted, moreover, that such interviews must occur in New York City. Combs' suit claims that Mitchell made false statements about having seen parts of sex tapes, but Combs said she couldn't have because they don't exist. As for NewsNation, the suit says NewsNation, upon information and belief, conducted no investigation before broadcasting the false allegations, though it easily could have done so. Hey, by the way, did you know that your personal data is being harvested and sold online by data brokers? Yeah. Anyone can buy your personal info. When this happens, you are at risk for a whole host of things like identity theft, becoming a target of phishing scams, potential stalking, and honestly, a whole lot more. And that is why I want to tell you about our sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me helps you keep your personal info private. I use Delete Me, and honestly, it's really crazy what I found. The site uncovered 5 data brokers with my personal information and removed my data from 7 listings. Doing that myself would have taken me a full 8-hour workday, and the site will keep monitoring sites for you so your info doesn't find its way back on there after the first removal. And honestly, using Delete Me has given me peace of mind about my family too, because if someone buys your data from a data broker, they can see information about your relatives. So right now, you can get 20% off of Delete Me and protect your personal data when you go to joindeleteme.com/crimefix and use the promo code CrimeFix at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/crimefix, promo code CrimeFix. And there's more about Combs' claims about NewsNation and Courtney Burgess' interview, in which he claimed to have seen minors and celebrities on sex tapes with Combs. The Combs lawsuit further states, the host went on to note that because the 8 people in the videos, the 8 celebrities in the videos were allegedly victims of sex crimes, we know who they are, but we will not be naming them, famous or not. This statement was false, and the NewsNation host knew it. Combs' attorneys also mention a Peacock documentary, Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy. During the interview in The Making of a Bad Boy, Mitchell shamelessly promoted herself as a lawyer who had filed several cases against Sean Combs for sexual assault and asserted with no basis in fact and with utter disregard for the truth that Combs is a man who has done awful things to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So there is a lot to talk about here. And to do that, I want to bring in Joe Meadows. He is a defamation lawyer who practices in Washington, D.C. Joe, thanks so much for coming on. The big question I have for you here, my first question is, Sean Combs is a public figure, so he has to prove actual malice here. How big of a battle is this going to be for him? Is this an uphill battle?
Thanks for having me on the program, Angenette. Anytime a defamation plaintiff is a public figure, that could be a celebrity, that could be a politician, that could even be somebody called a limited purpose public figure, they have to prove defamation by a standard called actual malice, which means that they have to prove the defendant knew what they said was false or that they recklessly disregarded the truth, as opposed to a private figure who has to show that the defendant made a false statement negligently.
Sean Combs is claiming that Ariel Mitchell, the lawyer representing Courtney Burgess in this case, and she represents other people as well that are named in this lawsuit, other cases. He says she did disregard the truth and didn't investigate these claims. But as far as Courtney Burgess goes, he's saying she didn't see these videotapes because they don't exist. So how does Sean Combs go about proving that? I mean, is that through depositions where he has to, sit her down with lawyers in a conference room, maybe possibly on videotape, and have her explain how she investigated this?
Yeah, Sean Combs has made the claim essentially against all 3 defendants that the allegation that there are videos out there showing that he engaged in sexual misconduct, or that the lawyer, Miss Mitchell, corroborated others who have said that Sean Combs has engaged in sexual misconduct, has to show that those statements are false. And Sean Combs says the videos don't exist and the corroboration doesn't exist. So in discovery, in the information exchanged in any litigation, he's going to ask, show me the videos, show me the police report, show me this memoir, because I think it's all fake. And that's going to be how he's going to try to prove the fault element of his defamation case.
As far as the videos go, that Courtney Burgess claimed to possess with these flash drives, Sean Combs is claiming that the feds never seized these flash drives and that Ariel Mitchell claimed that they had seized the flash drives, and that Courtney Burgess claimed that they had seized the flash drives. So, I mean, that's pretty easy to prove. The feds would have to turn that over in discovery for the criminal case, the sex trafficking case, if they had indeed seized those flash drives from Courtney Burgess. And he testified apparently in front of the grand jury. So if he had actually turned over that material, the feds would have it and they'd have to present it to Sean Combs's lawyers in discovery.
Well, there's the discovery aspect in the criminal case and what the government must show Sean Combs in the criminal case. But in the civil case, the government's not a party. Sean Combs has to prove falsity of these alleged defamatory statements. He'll say, the tapes don't exist, and the defendants have to prove truth. So it'll be on their obligation to show that the tapes do exist, so that they either have them and will present them in discovery and ultimately present them at trial, or they'll subpoena them or try to get them from others. But the interesting question is, from a defamation standpoint, is what is the gist of these alleged defamatory statements concerning the tapes? Is the gist that Burgess and his lawyer have the tapes, or is the real gist that this sexual misconduct actually took place? That's what you actually measure truth or falsity against in a defamation case.
Sean Combs is saying that, these tapes don't exist because he's not on tape having sex with a celebrity who is a minor, that it didn't happen. So as a lawyer, what is the duty of the lawyer to investigate the claim before, representing a client and going on television and making the claim and sitting next to your client and making the claim?
Well, I mean, there are ethical obligations and professional responsibility duties of any lawyer in counseling a client, in filing a suit. You have to have a good faith basis for bringing the claim. But there's also the duty of people not to engage in reckless defamation, either, and conducting due diligence before you say things publicly to third parties that might hurt someone's reputation. And we'll see in the litigation as it proceeds what was done, what wasn't done. I mean, there's always two sides to the story, which is probably why Sean Combs brought this defamation suit in the face of a criminal case. He wants to publicly show that there are two sides to the story, and let's not rush to judgment. I am saying what people are saying about me, and what the government's saying about me is false.
Sean Combs has to prove that he was actually defamed, that he was harmed by these statements. And he says, this is a different world now. People go on TV and say something, and then there's the video. It ends up on YouTube. It's put out on social media, and that he has been harmed by these statements. So is that an uphill battle for him, given the fact that he is facing criminal charges for sex trafficking involving one person who he was in a relationship with for many years? Separate case. It's a criminal case, as you know, but this is now a civil defamation case. Is that going to be difficult for him to prove that he was indeed harmed by these allegations?
It's a great question, interesting legal issue on the damages aspect of this lawsuit. I think it's not going to be an uphill battle at the beginning stage of any lawsuit and making sure that you have filed a lawsuit and it's not going to get thrown out by a court. I think it will become a challenging part of the litigation, certainly as you move forward in the litigation and at trial. how is Sean Combs going to show that these particular statements that I've filed a lawsuit about harmed me versus perhaps other statements out there or other events that are being reported about him in the news. And a jury ultimately is going to have to make that call on which part of the things out there actually caused Sean Combs damages.
Sean Combs' lawsuit has listed statements that Ariel Mitchell made last October to NewsNation, in which she discussed claims by her client, Ashley Parham. Parham claimed that Combs and others sexually assaulted her in California in 2018, and Mitchell filed a lawsuit based on those claims. Sean Combs has denied those allegations. And I told you last October that the Woodland Police Department told me in a statement that the claim was investigated and labeled as unfounded. The lawsuit filed by Combs states, on October 7th, 2024, Mitchell also falsely claimed that she had done research indicating that baby oil may be used as a conduit for transmitting drugs mixed into the oil to another person for the purpose of incapacitating them. Mitchell suggested, moreover, that Mr. Combs did this to one of her clients, i.e. mixed drugs with baby oil and doused her client with it, thereby lowering her defenses. That statement was a lie. Mitchell performed no such research, and even if she had, there is no scientific basis for asserting that baby oil could be infused with drugs to incapacitate anyone. I asked Joe Meadows whether those statements could be considered defamatory.
Well, I mean, a defamatory statement, something that can give rise to a defamation claim, is a false statement made to a third person that harms your reputation, and you can prove that the person who made the statement made it either negligently or with actual malice. And he's stated statements in this lawsuit that he believes states a claim. It's not unheard of for defamation plaintiffs to sue not only the maker of the original statement, but somebody who repeats the statement. And that could include the person's lawyer. In the Johnny Depp case, there were claims that were made against Johnny Depp for counter defamation, and those statements were made by Johnny Depp's lawyer, and they fought that out. So it's not unheard of to sue the lawyer as well in a defamation lawsuit. And it'll come down to whether or not Miss Mitchell had a good faith basis for making her statement, whether she can prove the truth of her statement. She's going to have some interesting defenses that may be available to her as well, some privileged defenses. She may say, what I was saying was what was already being reported in another lawsuit, or what was being reported in a criminal case, or that what she said was a fair and accurate report of some other governmental proceeding, and those defenses may be available to her.
There's also mention of this Peacock documentary in which she appeared with that client from the lawsuit in California, Ashley Parham. And they say that during the interview, she shamelessly promoted herself and claimed that Combs is a man who has done awful things to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So she's saying it's a possibility. What do you make of that claim by Sean Combs?
Well, I mean, it's part of the general subject matter of what Sean Combs is suing for. He's suing for defamation arising out of these claims about tapes existing, and he's suing that people, Mr. Burgess and Miss Mitchell, were corroborating what others have falsely said about Sean Combs. And so whether it's the Peacock documentary or whether it's the stuff about the baby oil, Sean Combs is saying, hey, you're repeating false statements that have been reported by others, and you shouldn't do that. So it's one and the same type of thematic elements to his lawsuit.
I want to talk now about Courtney Burgess. He is represented by Ariel Mitchell, and they were on NewsNation together. And, he said he answered questions. I remember watching this interview when it happened. He declined an invitation to speak with us through Ariel Mitchell. I want to put that out there for full disclosure. But they're saying he basically made this whole thing up, and he peddled a memoir and was part of producing a book that was fake. So, they're saying Courtney Burgess's statements, he was part of making a book that was essentially a lie, that was fake. that he was part of trying to sell a sex tape, an alleged sex tape that he claimed showed Sean Combs and a male celebrity engaged in sex, and that Ariel Mitchell, he contacted her in September to help broker this sale to the celebrity so that the celebrity would purchase the videotape to basically buy it so it would never see the light of day. And then all of a sudden it evolves into this whole thing about having flash drives with these other videos that Kim Porter allegedly gave to him. That was what he claimed. And that they had celebrities having, it showed celebrities having sex with minors. So if those tapes don't exist, how damaging is that for Courtney Burgess? Because as you mentioned earlier, he's going to have to, if he indeed has those flash drives and those videos, he is going to have to produce them in this suit.
Right. I read those allegations in the lawsuit, and it will be challenging for Mr. Burgess if he doesn't have the tapes, or he can't prove that the memoir exists and was real. I mean, that's the central part of what Sean Combs is saying is false about these statements and the underlying sub-statements that he allegedly engaged in sexual misconduct. So, like I said earlier, the defamation plaintiff has to prove falsity of the statements, and the defendants have to prove truth of the statements. So at some point, Mr. Burgess has to come forward and he has to show that he's got the tapes, that the tapes exist, and that he's got the memoir, and the memoir exists, and the memoir is real. And that's going to be the kind of the he said, she said battle between Sean Combs and Mr. Burgess.
If you're representing Sean Combs, do you talk to him and do you ask him, are you 1,000% sure that these tapes do not exist? That this is all false before filing this case?
Well, I mean, any lawyer has an ethical duty and obligation with their client to make sure that they have fully investigated the claims and the allegations, and they have a good faith basis to file a lawsuit, and to trust their client in what's being presented to the lawyer. And if you have no reason to not trust your client and you have the good faith basis to make the claim, then you have satisfied your ethical and professional responsibilities.
I want to move on now to NewsNation's role in this. And they're a news outlet and they have broad protections, but they also, as a news person myself, you have to do your best to try to verify these claims. What was their responsibility here in investigating this before allowing Courtney Burgess and Ariel Mitchell to make these claims on the air?
Well, Sean Combs says in the lawsuit, and all I know is what the lawsuit says, but the theory why NewsNation or the parent company Nexstar Media is responsible is that you, media entity, you not only passed along what was said by Mr. Burgess and Miss Mitchell, but you adopted those statements. You vouched for them. You expanded on those statements in a way that went beyond being neutral and objective. That's the theory from Sean Combs. Whenever people go on TV or radio or internet podcast and make alleged defamatory statements, it's not always the media entity that's always being sued. But here, Sean Combs says you went beyond that. You actually embraced and credited what Sean Combs says are false statements. And, Nexstar Media will disagree. And perhaps because they're in New York, they will try to take advantage of what's called a neutral reporter privilege. And they'll say, look, what I was reporting was the news, and I was accurate and I was objective. And based on this privilege, I am not liable for defamation.
So as a defamation lawyer, did NewsNation have an obligation before airing this segment to do a little bit more investigation? Obviously, NewsNation has not responded to this lawsuit yet. Nexstar, their parent company, has not responded.
Yeah, Sean Combs is saying all three defendants have engaged in actual malice. And with respect to Nexstar Media, he's saying You either knew that these statements were false or you recklessly disregarded the truth. You should have done your due diligence. You should have investigated whether the tapes existed, and we'll find out in discovery how far that goes and what Nexstar Media is going to say about that. Maybe they did investigate, but like I said before, I think they're going to argue pretty strongly that they were being accurate and objective here. That's my guess as to what they're going to certainly hang their hat on in their defense.
Sean Combs also claims, though, that NewsNation never reached out for comment to get his side of the story, which they could have easily done.
Yeah, that's not an unusual claim when a defamation plaintiff is asserting an actual malice kind of type defamation against a news entity or reporter. They're going to say, among other reasons why you engaged in actual malice, you never checked with me to get my statement, to get my side of the story. And in fact, you weren't very objective and you were being very partial and subjective here in adopting the statement. So I wasn't surprised by that allegation. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out in the case.
And we haven't heard Nexstar's side of the story on that point yet. We haven't heard from them at all about this lawsuit. That will probably take some time as far as responding in court goes. But I'm wondering, does not seeking a comment, does that contribute to, or does that add to Sean Combs's argument?
Yes. It's a factor within the test of actual malice, which oftentimes is a circumstantial evidence test. What things did you do to make sure that what you said was true? And did you have evidence before you? Did you check with the source? Did you know whether the source was credible or not? Was there other information that you knew privately or publicly that might have clued you into the falsity of the statement? So it's one piece of the circumstantial evidence test of whether or not there is actual malice behind the statements.
Joe, what do you think about the dollar amount sought in this case? Sean Combs wants $50 million in damages.
Yeah, it's a big number, but it's Sean Combs. And I guess it's not too shocking considering who Sean Combs is and the reputation that he apparently built up until the time of the negative statements being reported about him. Oftentimes, the number picked is a pick that's designed to reflect what the plaintiff feels about the claims. The plaintiff is trying to defend his name and his brand, his reputation. $50 million, it's a big number. That's going to grab some attention. That's telling the world how harmed you believe you were by these defamatory statements. But like I said earlier, the interesting issue is once you get into the litigation at trial, how much of the alleged reputational damage was caused by the statements that are mentioned in this lawsuit versus other statements. And only a jury can figure that out.
Well, we will see where it goes from here. Joe Meadows, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've reached out to NewsNation's parent company, Nexstar, for a comment on this lawsuit. At the time of this recording, I have not received a response. As I mentioned earlier, I have also reached out to Ariel Mitchell and Courtney Burgess. Neither has responded, but Mitchell told the New York Times in a statement, "I look forward to countersuing and ensuring the court punishes not only Diddy, but also his lawyers who filed this pathetic lawsuit for this frivolous and meritless filing." The Times reported that Burgess told a reporter, "I stand by what I said," and we'll continue to follow this case. That's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.